worked in, I don't know, a slow family business all your life, and then suddenly jumped into, I don't know why I'm using this example, crew, but Wall Street, right? Old school Wall Street, where it was so intense and so fast. You're going to not know what's going on. You're not going to know what playing full out is, right? So when you increase your network, which your network is what? That's right, your network is your net worth. But really what it does is it immerses you in someone else's belief system who is 10 to 15 years ahead of you, or 20 years or 30 years, or way ahead of you in the game that you're trying to play. It makes you step up. It makes you think a different way.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 307. Hope you're amazing, as always. Really do. We have now begun June 2021. We're on the 2nd, and do you know what? I'm loving this year. There's so many changes happening in people's lives. There's so many reality checks. There's so many things going on, and I'm loving it right now. I'm sitting in Latin America. Yes, I don't tell you exactly what countries. You know, I'm a little bit private in some ways, although I'm public. One of my biggest missions in life is the stages in life. And we'll get into what today's episode is about. Just so you do know, it's actually an episode I did a couple of years ago where I actually broke down stage by stage Elon Musk's book, right? It's a biography about him and all of his strategies of thinking. So definitely stay tuned, definitely be involved, and definitely share this episode, right? So life goes in stages. Do you know what I mean? I remember going back and I was 24, Australia, New Zealand, then moving to California, and just really hustling all around the world, building businesses, learning myself, becoming one of the top people in the world for neuro-linguistic programming, mental performance, working with royalty, working with this, working with trauma victims, and everyone else in between. And it's given me so much growth and lessons. And it becomes easier and easier in life to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. Do you understand what I mean? Because we go in these cycles, and often we hold on to things that we're comfortable with, things that we know that are going to make us feel a bit warm and safe. Because the world's a little bit wild and crazy, right? The world's a little bit wild and crazy. And what happens is it anchors or holds us into past patterns, past beliefs, past repeating the same thing again and again and expecting a different result, right? What is it? Definition of insanity. You got it. And when we start to understand that, when we have such a clear vision, and this is part of it, to let you know, I also run a finance and acquisitions company, which I started 12 months ago. I'm launching another brand, which, just to let you in, you might be the first people ever to hear this name, so pay attention. It's called the Ascension Project, and it's with an amazing mate of mine called Dean, who's an absolute badass, so please pay attention to that. That's going into more mental, physical, financial, and metaphysical. That's going to be the brand, and it's designed for high level performers. So if that is you, well, pay attention. I'll be telling you more about that. So as things goes in stages, you've got to be able to let go of what doesn't serve you. You've got to be able to focus on the new, and you have to allow yourself to become who you know you are deep inside. And you might be doing habits, behaviors, patterns, hanging around with certain people, still listening and thinking and listening to things or watching things that remind you of who you were. Do you understand? So from a neurological aspect and a nervous system aspect, the challenge becomes that you're conditioning the same pattern. You're pumping the same muscle. You're repeating the same movie. Do you understand? So how can you become who you want to become and get the results that you want if you keep doing what you've done? Does that make sense? I get it, right? So there's lots of things in my life right now that I'm cutting off. Cutting clean. I am making sure that right now it's time to win. It's time to win in this new project. It's time to win in this new stage of my life. Because at the end of the day, I've opened opportunities that are unbelievable, and I want to make sure that I see them through to the end. Can you relate to this? So when I was looking at today's episode of what to put out here, who better? Elon. Do you know what I mean? I love Elon. I used to get teased a lot on this podcast. I've been going for 6 years, this podcast, actually close to 7 years now. Do you know what I mean? And that's a lot of time of me speaking. And I've grown so much through the guest. I've grown so much. And I'm going to keep this podcast going. I really am. I think it's awesome. I love it, and I hope you do too. I'm going to put a new spin on it. I'm going to, put a new flavor on it, I think, because I need to update it. I need to update who I am, and I want to bring you on this new journey with me. So whether you're anything to do with mental, physical, financial, or metaphysical, pay attention, because this is going to be the full new flavor. Okay? So speaking of flavor, I want you to contact me. It's time to help. It's time to get that next level. It's time to do things that, let me explain. It was interesting in the Facebook group, Andy Murphy Mindset, type it in, I'll appear. And what was interesting, I posted a question in there, and one of the responses was, yes, Andy, I'd love to know how you stop these old patterns and these old behaviors, because I keep repeating them. This was the question. And somebody commented, do you mean mindset? And my comment back was, no, it's not mindset, right? This is about creating new patterns. A mindset, understand, is a way of generally thinking about something. So you have a specific mindset about finances or doing sports, right? Well, what I'm talking about is neuroconditioning or mental performance. And what that means is we're going into individual memories and we are updating them. We're updating the way you think, feel, and act about money, success, the past, the future, right? We're building muscle, right? We're updating the software. That is not about mindset. The podcast is Mindset by Design. And what that means is we develop a whole new mindset about life, right? A whole new mindset about business. But what I do with clients and what I teach and what you need to come and have access to is a completely next level thing, right? We're dealing with the unconscious mind. We're dealing with the conscious mind. We're giving you new behaviors, new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting about every single aspect in your life. So whether you're hitting 6 figures or you're doing 9 figures a year, it doesn't matter, right? I've seen it all, worked with them all. And I want you to be able to step up to your next level, step into your purpose, get that project booming. Or if you're kicking ass, and there is always a next level of growth. Always, right? So I want you to really take serious this year, right? I want you to step up like you never have before. I want you to get the success that you deserve once and for all. The world is in chaos, but that has nothing to do with you. Do you understand that? You can have excuses, or we can go and build who you really are. We can get that business launched to that true success. We can get you over this emptiness inside, or this self-sabotage pattern that you keep doing for years and years. It could be a poverty mindset, right? Even if you're rich, even if you're doing 6 figures, even if you're working from 5 to 6 figures, or 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, there's always things that we have to evolve through, move past, right? And it's also to do with the brain, the nervous system, chemicals that are pumping around, and frequency. Yes. Did you like my episode? Yeah, did you like it? The secret science of frequency and how to 20x your business. Yeah, that was the last one. Go and check it out. That's episode 306. You're going to love it, because all of these things aren't really taught in business. You're either taught business tactics, which is strategies about growing funnels and ads and marketing, or you're taught the opposite, right? Which is all about vibration and manifesting, right? And I get it, but those things separate don't work, right? Not to your fullest. And you might be going, Andy, that's not true. That's not true. You know, the most logical people in the world are some of the most richest. Yeah, well, that's Elon, right? But guess what he's coming from? He's coming from his heart. He's coming from a clear vision. He's coming to change the world. That is a vibration, right? That is a neurological network. That is, you get the idea. So today we're going to go through, there's lots of cool key points, and we're going to go through Elon's book, and we're going to pull out all the best bits. And if you hit the show notes, well, I've actually got all the topics in there waiting for you. How good am I? And speaking of that, why don't you head to those show notes too? Because I've got 2 links for you. The first one, it's step 1. You best tune your unconscious mind up in your brain and switch on every morning. And if you're struggling with that and you're writing all these notes and doing all these things and it's not quite working, right, it's because we're not updating the software in your brain. So I created something for you. Go and get it right now. It's free. Go and press it, that link, download it, put it into your phone, get your earbuds in, and go and set up your day every day. Nice, fast, and easy. You're going to love it. The second thing is, well, I created a private performance circle. As I'm building these other projects, that's where my focus is going now, right? So to get access to me privately to do one-on-ones isn't really going to happen anymore. Do you know what I mean? For the right person, if I've got time, I will, right? So you can still always contact me. But what I want to do is give all of my knowledge, give you a network, give you everything that you need in one place. Yeah, you get digital training, you get masterminds, you get access to me. And this is my private performance circle. It will only be like around a maximum of, I don't know, like a dozen people tops. And guess what? That is a community that I'm going to be building into the future. And that's only letting people in that I really love, who have a passionate, clear vision. And if that's you, then come and find out and discover what mental performance at this level is all about. How I've helped people scale for businesses from $1 million to $65 million launches. It wasn't me. I just tuned someone's brain and that's what they did. And I want to show you how to do the same thing. So how to do that? Well, we have to have a chat, right? We have to have a chat and see if we're on the same page. And if we're on the same page, awesome. If we're not, awesome. It's okay. Much, much love. We make new friends and you go and carry on with your life. But if it is for you, then we're going to go on a mission together and we're going to get you whatever you want. Okay? So that's the second link, step 2. So click, fill the application in. It's nice and simple and you can easily chat with me or one of my coaches and we're going to bring you in. Actually, I'm going to take as many as I can with these. So why don't you do that today? So simply go to andymurphy.biz and click on mentorship. Go in there and I'll chat to you soon. Awesome, awesome stuff. Okay, let's jump into this. You're going to love this episode. You are, and I will see you at the end of the show. Today's about Elon Musk, and if you don't know Elon's the inventor of Tesla, SpaceX, PayPal, and loads of other stuff. He's literally changing the world. So one of the things I was doing as I'm reading certain autobiographies inside the academy, and we're doing notes and feedback, and these are going to get turned into lots of different stuff, including cool little products probably. But right now, this is where it all begins with these 5-minute mentors. And I really wanted to give you a snapshot inside of Elon's mind. Because it's such an incredible mind. And this is what we're going to get into today. The notes that I've taken from the actual audiobook, the actual autobiography book is what I want to give over to you today. But why? Again, if you're a new listener, what we're about on Mindset by Design is a couple of different things. And the main thing is being able to give you the ability to change your behavior, your belief system, your values, your attitude, and really build these new neurological connections so you can go away and just dominate any business that you're doing. That's the point, right? That's the point with Mindset by Design. Okay, crew, let's just settle down. I'm going to do this as efficient as I can. There's a lot of information I could go into this. I could do like a 3-hour podcast on this. But I'm just trying to give you some key principles from Elon that you can go and take away and apply in your life. That's my goal for you, right? That's my goal. And that's also the goal with the whole of the Mindset by Design podcast. It was to be able to give you access to all these world-class guests with cutting edge ways of thinking, feeling, and acting. I want you to use the podcast differently to everybody else's, right? And what I mean by that, use it as a library. I've had every guest that's come on the show has been truly world class, and I wanted to give you the gift of being able to look and pull the strategies out. Now, I haven't got access to Elon Musk, right? Or Ronda Rousey, or Stephen Hawkins, and this is what the three have been so far. But I want to be able to give you as much information about the way they think, so again you can play on that type of level. And this is where it starts. So let me read one of the little intros to his book, right? Because it's pretty awesome. If you've not read it, you should probably get it, right? And Elon Musk, the book's called How the Billionaire CEO of SpaceX and Tesla is Shaping Our Future. Well, one of the intro points is, throughout his life, Elon Musk has performed in a string of staggering, impossible feats in business and engineering. All of his decisions have had the similarity of being intensely focused on his ultimate goal of preserving the future of humanity through energy sustainability, fixing climate change, and getting humans settled on Mars as a backup to the first goal. With the focus on his goal, he has broken all obstacles down to the smallest constituents, down to the physics, removing all previous assumptions and rebuilding his unique ideas from there. This process, aided by his incredible work ethic, has allowed him to repeatedly perform what others people thought was impossible. Now, the thing you're going to come across with Elon, even through this, is that this is an obsession. And whether he's running away from something or not becomes irrelevant for the results that he's gaining. Now, I think from my point of view, he seems a nicer person than Steve Jobs. He doesn't seem as awesome as Richard Branson. But guess what? Branson's changing the world, but this is the next level. They're comparing him to like Tony Stark, Iron Man. That's what they're really comparing him to, because the way he's thinking, the level he's playing on, he's trying to involve all this latest technology, and he's breaking boundaries of things that it's just mind-blowing. It really is. And I'm going to give you some really key points. We're going to go into some different stuff, but straight away I'm going to give you key takeaways from the book so you can start applying this in your own life. And then we can look at some other bits and pieces. But understand, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm even going to play the top 10, it's off YouTube, but it's the top 10 key thoughts that make Elon amazing and world class, right? So that's pretty cool. So keep checking out for that at the end, right? It's probably about 6 minutes long. So let's look at the key takeaways, and then we'll talk about how you can apply them in your own life and in a different context. With Ronda's on episode 95, I was applying a world-class fighter or athlete's mindset and how you would apply that in business. Well, the difference is Elon's doing business at the highest level, right? So it's really nice that we can have that immediate input in your own life. So let's look at what Elon gets up to. I really like this key first one that I've got here. It's break things down to their most basic ideas and rebuild from there. Do not assume anything is impossible just because it has not been done. I absolutely love that, because again, as an entrepreneur, one of the key things that we do is we constantly come up against challenges. Now, I know that's the same in life and all the rest of it, but we're talking about business today, right, crew? So That's business. There's always going to be people that let you down. There's always going to be people that don't believe in you. There's always going to be people that, just think the idea that you're coming up with is ridiculous. Well, guess what? This is the same in Elon's world. And the difference with his world, he's not just going, oh, I've got to make a new funnel or that marketing concept or that business idea. It's a little bit silly. Look, he's trying to take us to Mars. And I don't just mean getting us to Mars. I mean a whole colony. I mean the whole human species on somewhere like Mars. There's a different level. Do you think people might have said to him, Elon, I think that's a bit of a bad idea, mate. It's going to take this resource, this resource, this resource. Of course they did. I'm sure he gets that every single day of his life. You know what? He goes and proves it. He doesn't care what somebody else thinks, because what he does know is, like Einstein knew and everybody else, everything starts in your imagination. Everything. If you can conceive it and believe it, then it's possible. And at the end of the day, the wheel, the car, the microwave, the everything. I don't know why I come up with microwave, but you get the idea. Everything starts in our imagination. It's the same with your life. It really, truly is. This is why we have to design our mindset to be able to design our life by design. And the cool thing about this is that you're open. You're open to do anything that you want. What Elon understands right now from that one statement, he understands that there are no rules to life. There isn't. Oh, because society decided there was, because society dictated, oh, we have to go to school this way, we have to get this type of job. It's all bullshit, right? It really is. There's no rules. There's no rules. So you can do and be and have anything that you want. And if anyone in your life right now is telling you that you can't do something, you just need to give them the finger and understand that anything is truly possible. So do not assume anything is impossible just because it's not been done. Even with music, right? Even with music, when someone creates a new style of music, there's people say to them, oh, I don't like that. And other people say they love that. There's always going to be a media bias. There's always going to be a contrast frame, right? There is. But if it comes from your imagination, then what it's about, like he says there, break it down into the fundamental basics and see how you can put the steps to lead it forwards. There has to be a portion, in my opinion, something called the incubation stage. And what that means is that you have to work out, is that a viable option? And I don't mean is it a viable option because someone else's opinion. I mean, is it a viable option for you to be able to push that forwards? That's the difference, right? Make sense, crew? So it's your dreams, it's your life. And if you come from a very working class background as myself, then no one ever told me that I could have this life that I live. Nobody, right? No one could tell me that I can grow and scale this business into a multi-million-dollar business. No one told me that. Where did it start? In my head and my heart. The difference is, and this is why I love this next key point of Elon, work harder than anyone else. Now, Elon's a beast. Like, he's a beast. I'm not going to go read his book, but he's the type of person that, there's quotes in the book saying he doesn't leave the office. And he really doesn't. And something you're going to see at this quotes, I might put 2 in there, actually. Depends how much you want to listen to. What I'm going to do is do the podcast, and then at the very, very, very end, afterwards, I'll give you a little bonus section, and you can listen to this other audio, which is like about 30 minutes long, and it's actually him giving a speech. So you're getting a little bit different today, crew. But this guy did whatever it takes. Instead of getting an apartment, what they did was got an office. And the office, he slept on the couch. And he was talking about if he had a girlfriend, and she'd have to sleep in the office with him for a while, It's whatever it takes to get this done. And he's just completely obsessive. Now, is that a healthy way to be? No. Does it create results? Yes. So you have to decide about what you want and why you want it. For him, it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's just about the vision with SpaceX, with Tesla, with all of these things to really change the world and help humanity. And there's not many people like that, on Earth. If anyone on Earth right now to the plane, to the level that he is, it's truly inspirational and amazing. And it does a couple of different things for me, and I know it will do the same for you. It doesn't matter what you're going through in your life, business-wise or stress-wise. When there's people doing that, and you understand he's just a human, he came in the same way, he's going to go out the same way, but he's playing that large, kind of puts everything in your life in perspective, right? It kind of puts your business in perspective. You're getting stressed about building this business into whatever. Yeah, you're not Richard Branson and we're not Elon Musk, who's playing at levels that I can't even comprehend. Never mind anything else. But what the key principle is, he works harder than anyone else and you lead by example. And that's what the cool thing is. His next key point is, there is no point in doing anything less than the best you possibly can. You've heard me mention it many times on the podcast, right? I'm sure you have. You can only do your best. But you've got to make sure that that best truly is coming from your heart and everything that you can truly possibly do. If you were playing full out, what would that really, really look like? Now, you've got to start imagining what that is, because if you don't have the perspective, meaning that you've worked in, I don't know, a slow family business all your life, and then suddenly jumped into, I don't know why I'm using this example, crew, but Wall Street, right? Old school Wall Street, where it was so intense and so fast. You're going to not know what's going on. You're not going to know what playing full out is. Right, so when you increase your network, which your network is what? That's right, your network is your net worth. But really what it does is it immerses you in someone else's belief system who is 10 to 15 years ahead of you, or 20 years or 30 years, or way ahead of you in the game that you're trying to play. It makes you step up. It makes you think a different way. It makes you understand what's possible. And when you're around people like Elon, guess what? I can't even comprehend what his work ethic is, because really his work ethic is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop forever. Now, is that my life by design? No. Is it his? Yes. Yours is going to be different from the both of us. It just depends what you want. He's trying to save the world. And when I mean that, the more you learn about Elon, he is literally trying to change and save the world. Now, my shoes are pretty big. That's a whole nother level of what someone's playing at. It really is. So again, if you're around people who are running at a slow pace and you're trying to run at a fast pace, you're going to find it kind of tricky, right? You're going to find it kind of tricky. If you're running with people who are on fire, boom. And I don't mean fire, literally they're running around there and their clothes are burning. I mean on fire with their attitude, on fire with their beliefs, on fire with what's possible. Then you're going to emulate it. That neurology, those neural nets are going to really start creating that thought patterns, and your boundary around what you think or thought was possible will change so fast for you. So that's really a great place to start, that instant change of network. His next key point is something, again, common knowledge doesn't mean it's common sense. He makes sure that he hires incredible, amazing talent. Amazing talent. And if you think that because someone's a billionaire that they get there by accident, they don't. Every single company he creates, he is there interviewing every single person. And when I mean every single person, I mean the janitor, everybody else, everybody you can possibly imagine in that company, because he wants to make sure that they are congruent with the vision that he has for his business, his dreams, his life. And if someone's not in the right job, then guess what? They're not going to understand his ethics, his culture, and they're not going to create the right frequency or the right vision, and they're not going to treat other people with the same attitude. So when he's hiring all of these people, is that obsessive? Damn right that's obsessive. Is it what you want? No. But guess what? You can take that as a concept. If you think you're too big for doing certain roles in a business, then you've got to look at people like Elon and go, yeah, hang on a second. This guy's getting us to Mars. This guy is invented Tesla. I might want to probably get over myself and play full out and be involved. That's how you grow a world-class business. That's how you do it. So his next key point is really, really powerful. It's learn everything you can about the subject matter. Everything you can about the subject matter, be it rocket propulsion or something equally specific. Now, we don't all have brains like Elon Musk. Elon Musk has got a photographic memory. He's also crazy OCD. He's also a bit freaky and crazy and all the rest of it, right? So you don't have to play full out. But the difference is, if you take the responsibility to learn everything that you need to and hire amazing talent who know and are experts in all the other areas that you haven't got time to learn. But if you learn the foundation, if you learn, like if you're building a business and you become an expert at a specific type of marketing, then you bring someone else to make that your vision of that marketing happen, right? They're passionate about what they're doing, you're passionate about what you're doing, and you accelerate your learning curve. Now, Elon takes this to a whole new level. I know there's a story in there when he was a kid, and I think it's 6th grade or something, and he'd read every book in the library. Every book in the library. And he went to the librarian and said, you need to order more books. Can you order more books around this and that and this and that? And guess what? They didn't for a while. So he started reading the Encyclopedia and the Encyclopedia Britannica and everything I could get his hands on. But guess what? He'd remember all that stuff. I can't. I don't know if you can. But we can specialize in what we are really, really passionate about and what we feel that we or think that we need to understand to be able to create this bigger picture. Then you bring everyone else around you, you know? That's the part of the trick. Making sense so far, crew? Am I just ranting on? You know me by now. I can't go on rants and tangents, but is this making sense to you? Are you seeing how you can apply this in your own life? Are you seeing how you can really take some of these principles and step your game up? Are you really seeing that what you're doing compared to someone like Elon is a tiny little speck, and we need to get it in perspective? And when we get it in perspective, it relaxes us, and that emotion creates like that momentum of what we need to do. Making sense? So the other thing is, any road will get you there if you don't know where you're going. Do you want me to say that again? Any road will get you there if you don't know where you're going. So one of the key things he says, the next key point is work towards a goal. And what he says, the more important the goal, the more driven you will to be to make it succeed. Now, understand this, crew. We are goal-setting machines. We are. Guess what? You used to go make a cup of coffee in the morning. I like green tea, but whatever you're into, just go make it, right? Well, that's a goal that you've set in your head, and then you go and accomplish it. Well, that's the same with every area of your life. And if you're not getting results, then guess what? You might be setting a bigger goal, massive goal, but guess what? Nothing breeds success like success. So you need to make sure you chunk that goal down into steps that are going to lead you towards where you want to go. If that big vision, that big goal is so compelling that you're pulled towards it, then isn't life nice? Isn't life easier for you? Much, much easier. Rather than resisting or getting up in the morning saying, that goal's huge, I don't know how to get there. Well, what was one of the first key points of Elon? Break things down to the most basic ideas and rebuild it from there. Don't assume it's impossible just because it's never been done. So whatever goal you're setting, just make sure that you play full out. Whatever goal that you're setting, make sure that you have tangible steps to achieve it. Make sure whatever you're trying to do, you're going to work harder than anybody else, right? And also take responsibility, hire amazing talent, learn everything you can about the subject, no matter what. Just did a little review for you. Now making sense? So, the last of the key points for these 5-minute mentors, which you can work out they're never going to be 5 minutes, but hey, look, I'm just trying to give you as much information as I can so you can go out and dominate any business. And just a little side note for those who are listening, right? Just a little secret. That's also going to be the theme of the new academy, and it's also going to be the theme of products that I'm putting out. So if you want to dominate any business, probably want to get on the mailing list. Go and hit that show notes and sign up for that free hypnosis. That's going to get you, the latest and greatest things. It's also in the academy. Yes, it's cheap, but if you get in there, you're gonna be the first people to beta test this stuff, and you're gonna get a lot more value. Anyway. Over to Elon Musk's key takeaways, the last one for today, right? So, set ambitious goals for yourself and do everything that is possible to see them to fruition. That's the truth. Remember what I said before, everything starts in your imagination. And then the difference is, when someone becomes successful and rich, they have a laser focus on what they want. It doesn't mean they absolutely love everything that they're doing to get to it, but the end goal is the payoff's so good. The payoff's so good that it's worth going through some pain so you learn, grow, evolve, push to get where you want to go. Now, you all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. As long as you're learning from, there's no such thing as mistakes. Remember, past podcast, if you're a regular, there's no such thing as feedback. No such thing as feedback. Wrong way around. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And as long as you take that as a lesson to everything that goes wrong to help you grow your own evolution of who you are, then that's what business is. Business is, to me, is just a mirror and a reflection of what's going on inside. And if you're coping and your business is going great and everything's flowing, guess what's happening inside of you? Yeah, you're in flow. And when you're in flow, business comes to you like synergistically, effortlessly. It doesn't mean you're not got to work your ass off. It doesn't mean you're not got to work hard and go through all these key points. Of course you do. But at the end of the day, what I'm here to say is this is your mind, your emotions. This is your life. There are no rules to it. And just like the first thing that Elon said, do not assume anything is impossible just because it's not been done. And if anyone says that, then fuck them. It's that simple, right? Am I swearing? Yes. Is that appropriate to this? Doesn't even matter, right? Whatever. The key principle there I wanted to relate to you is that it's your life. And no one has rules for your life. So no matter what business you're doing, no matter what's going on, you can just change the world or change your world or change someone else's world. Whatever it is, come from the heart. Make sure it's what you want. And just give it everything you've got, because you've got this, guys. You've got this, crew. Making sense? I hope so. I'm doing this on a Saturday afternoon so someone can get inspired for the week. Inspired for the week. Why? Because I love you and I know what I'm building with this brand, and it's just about helping tens and hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people I want to help. So create this ripple. Go tell someone about this podcast. Go and just make your life amazing. So someone asks you, what have you been doing? That's all I want for you, and that makes me so, so happy. Sound good? Beautiful. So what we're going to do now, crew, is I'm going to play this audio. It's like the top 10 things that make Elon a rock star. So I'm going to do that. You can listen to that for 6 minutes. Then I'm going to finish the podcast. And remember, I'm going to put a little bonus audio on the end for those of you who want to listen to that. Crew, I just saw it's longer than 6 minutes. You know, I thought it was 6 minutes. I don't know where I got it in my head. It's about 10 minutes. So listen to that or don't listen to that, but it's pretty cool. I'm still going to put that audio on at the end. Anyway, I'll see you in a little bit. I'll see you very soon.
He's worth over $11 billion. He's created game-changing businesses like PayPal, Tesla Motors, and SpaceX. He's the closest thing we have to real-life Iron Man. He's Elon Musk, and here are his 10 rules for success.
That third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
Really liking what you do, whatever area that you get into, given that even if you're the best, there's always a chance of failure. So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. If you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. I mean, it's something that your mind is drawn to, and if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work, I think.
So many people try to talk me out of starting a rocket company. It was crazy. One good friend of mine collected a whole series of videos of rockets blowing up and made me watch those. He just didn't want me to lose all my money. We're doing these things that seem unlikely to succeed, and we've been fortunate, and at least thus far they have succeeded.
Now is the time to take risk. You don't have kids. As you get older, your obligations increase. So and once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it.
How did you figure you were going to start a car company and be successful at it?
Well, I didn't really think Tesla would be successful. I thought we would most likely fail. But I thought that we at least could address the false perception that people had that an electric car had to be ugly and slow and boring like a golf cart.
But you say you didn't expect the company to be successful, then why try?
If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure.
Focus on signal over noise. A lot of companies get confused. They spend money on things that don't actually make the product better. For example, at Tesla, we've never spent any money on advertising. We put all of the money into R&D and manufacturing and design to try to make the car as good as possible. I think that's the way to go. For any given company, just can keep thinking about, are these efforts that people are expending, are they resulting in a better product or service? And if they're not, stop those efforts.
When I interview someone to work at the companies, would be to ask them to tell me about the problems that they worked on and how they solved them. And if someone was really the person that solved it, they'll be able to answer multiple levels. They'll be able to go down to the brass tacks. And if they weren't, they'll get stuck. And then you can say, oh, this person was not really the person who solved it, because anyone who struggled hard with a problem never forgets it.
If you're creating a company or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing, that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. And so depending upon how talented and hardworking that group is, and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. So do everything you can to gather great people if you're creating a company.
You've got to make sure that whatever you're doing is a great product or service. It has to be really great. And I go back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're a new company, I mean, unless it's like some new industry or new market that, if it's an untapped market, then you have more ability to, the standard is lower for your product or service. But if you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. So a lot of times, entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better. And it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better.
Depending upon how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hot up we had one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night, 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she had to sleep in the office. So work hard, like, every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. And I mean, if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company.
Okay, crew, I'm back. Crazy guy, right? Amazing, inspirational, obsessive, brilliant, genius, Tony Stark, Iron Man, all of that stuff. If you're a regular, please go to iTunes and just write me a little review. iTunes love me for it. It means we're going to get higher rankings, which means I can get more world-class guests on, which means we can keep this movement going, and you can keep staying and being awesome as the Mindset by Design crew. So go write that little review for me. The other thing you probably want to go and do is hit the show notes, click which one you want, jump into the academy. I'd love to have you there. Let's get this moving for you. The other thing is, you can definitely get yourself that free hypnosis, because it's going to be gone soon. So jump into that. Okay, Mindset by Design crew, there you go. I'm going to play the outro music, and then I'm going to give you that little bonus if you want to listen to that. It's a cool speech he did. Cool. Much love, and I'll see you very, very soon. Oh, yeah. One more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.
Some of them are going to sound like, well, you've heard it before, but it's worth re-emphasizing. I think the first is you need to work, depending upon how well you want to do, and particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office, and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hot up, we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night, 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she had to sleep in the office. So work hard, like, every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. And I mean, if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company. The other thing I'd say is that if you're creating a company or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing, that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. And so depending upon how talented and hardworking that group is, and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. So do everything you can to gather great people if you're creating a company. Then I'd say focus on signal over noise. A lot of companies get confused. They spend money on things that don't actually make the product better. So, for example, at Tesla, we've never spent any money on advertising. We put all of the money into R&D and manufacturing and design to try to make the car as good as possible. I think that's the way to go. So, for any given company, just can keep thinking about, are these efforts that people are expending, are they resulting in a better product or service? And if they're not, stop those efforts. And then the final thing is to sort of don't just follow the trend. So you may have heard me say that it's good to think in terms of the physics approach of first principles, which is rather than reasoning by analogy, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths you can imagine, and you reason up from there. And this is a good way to figure out if something really makes sense or if it's just what everybody else is doing. It's hard to think that way. You can't think that way about everything. It takes a lot of effort. But if you're trying to do something new, it's the best way to think. And that framework was developed by physicists to figure out counterintuitive things like quantum mechanics. So it's really a powerful method. Anyway, so that's, and then I think that the final thing I would encourage you to do is, now is the time to take risk. You don't have, you don't have kids. Your obligation. Well, sorry, probably don't have kids. But as you get older, your obligations increase. So and once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it. Thank you.
I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
You know? So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week.
Gosh.
And
That's
then
a lot of work.
all those things improve the odds of success.
Okay.
I mean, if other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
Okay.
And then I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing.
Me Too type ideas.
Yeah,
Slight
iterations
take,
on a theme, and it's because it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world, and what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths, and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true, and then reason up from there. That takes a lot more mental energy.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say, in fact people do, that battery packs are really expensive and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past. You're like, well, no, that's pretty dumb, because if you applied that reasoning to anything new, then you wouldn't be able to ever get to that new thing.
Right.
It's like you can't say, horses, nobody wants a car because horses are great and we're used to them and they can eat grass and there's lots of grass all over the place, and there's no gasoline that people can buy, so people are never going to get cars.
Right.
People did say that. And for batteries, they would say, it's going to cost, $600
per kilowatt hour, and so it's not going to be much better than that in the future. And you say, no, okay, well, what are the batteries made of? So first principles would be to say, okay, what are the material constituents of the batteries? What is the spot market value of the material constituents? So you can say, okay, it's got cobalt, nickel, aluminum, carbon, and some polymers for separation, and a steel can. So break that down on a material basis and say, okay, what if we bought that in the London Metal Exchange, what would each of those things cost? Like, oh, geez, it's like $80 per kilowatt hour. So clearly, you just need to think of clever ways to take those materials and combine them into the shape of a battery cell, and you can have batteries that are much, much cheaper than anyone realizes.
First of all, I'd say starting a business is not for everyone. So generally, starting a business, I'd say number one is have a high pain threshold. That's it. There's a friend of mine who's got a good saying, which is that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Okay, that's generally what happens, because when you first start a company, there's lots of optimism and things are great, and then so happiness at first is high. Then you encounter all sorts of issues, and happiness will steadily decline, and then you'll go through a whole world of hurt. And then eventually, if you succeed, and in most cases you will not succeed, and Tesla almost didn't succeed, came very close to failure. Then if you succeed, then after a long time, you will finally get back to happiness. I think two is you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing is a great product or service. It has to be really great. And I go back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're a new company, I mean, unless it's like some new industry or new market that, if it's an untapped market, then you have more ability to. The standard is lower for your product or service. But if you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. So a lot of times, entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better. And it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better. Number three, I'd say, is constantly seek criticism. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you.
So lift you up, sort of your.
Yeah. So they say, oh, I want to encourage my friend, so I'm not going to tell him what I think is wrong with this product.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. And you at least want to listen very carefully to what they say. And to everyone, if you're looking for, basically, you should take the approach that you're wrong. That you, the entrepreneur, are wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong.
I think successful entrepreneurs probably come in all sizes, shapes, and flavors. I'm not sure there's any one particular thing. For me, some of the things I've described already, I think, are very important. I think really an obsessive nature with respect to the quality of the product is very important. So, being obsessive compulsive is a good thing in this context. Really liking what you do, whatever area that you get into. Given that, even if you're the best, there's always a chance of failure. So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. I'd say, and also if you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. I mean, it's something that your mind is drawn to. And if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work, I think.
That third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
8 weeks later, Musk bet the company on another flight.
We have liftoff.
And this time around, everything worked.
Perfect.
If that fourth launch hadn't worked, that would have been it. We would have not had the resources to mount a fifth.
Much love, crew. See you in the next episode. See, if you made it this far, you're even more of a badass. That's Elon Musk mindset for sure. Much love, crew. See you soon.